What up guys, Miguel here of YugaTech, and the Samsung Galaxy A50 has been getting a lot of attention lately. But does it have what it takes to square up against the Pocophone F1, which, despite being released last year, is still arguably the most popular smartphone under 20,000 pesos? Well, join us and find out in this comparison review. Set up the stage, here are the specs for both phones side by side. Feel free to pause the video right here if you want to read everything. First things first, let's talk about design. We get different looks from each phone. The Samsung Galaxy A50 has a glass-like, or what they like to call glastic, finish. The Pocophone F1 has a smooth matte, hard-coated polycarbonate back, which honestly is a good thing if you're concerned about fingerprints and smudges ruining the appearance. Although both phones are prone to scratches, so you might consider slapping on a case. Both phones have notches in front. The notches are of different shape, with the A50 having a smaller dewdrop notch and the Pocophone F1 having the older wide rectangular one. I like that the A50 notch gives off a short flare animation whenever it registers a face for unlocking the phone or switching over to your front-facing camera. It's also good to know that both phones still have a 3.5mm headphone jack. The Pocophone F1's is situated on top and the Galaxy A50's is at the bottom. At the right side of both phones, you can find the volume rocker and power button. And on the left side is a nano dual SIM for the A50 and a hybrid dual SIM for the F1. An advantage that the A50 has is that you get a dedicated microSD card slot with expandable storage of up to 512GB, while the Pocophone F1 sticks with a hybrid setup with expandable storage of only up to 256GB. We all have our preferences when it comes to design. The F1 is thicker than the A50, but if you're gonna ask me, while the A50 is a lot more modern looking, I like how simple yet classy the Pocophone F1 is. The hard-coated polycarbonate unibody is solid, and it doesn't creak when squeezed or sound hollow when tapped. Also, I do prefer its grip compared to the A50 because I like him thick. Heading to display, the Galaxy A50 sports a 6.4-inch Full HD Plus 19.5:9 Super AMOLED Infinity U display with a resolution of 1080x2340, while the Pocophone F1 has a 6.18-inch Full HD Plus 18.7:9 IPS LCD panel with a resolution of 1080x2246. The A50 has a larger screen size and gives you slimmer bezels, but their chins are of the same size. The Galaxy A50 uses an AMOLED panel that looks better in person because it produces deeper blacks and brighter whites, while the IPS LCD panel on the Pocophone gives off more natural colors. Samsung's panels have been known for their superb color reproduction, and the A50 is no exception. This makes the A50 more suitable for content consumption. It's also worth mentioning that both devices sport Gorilla Glass for protection. So, for display, both subjectively look good, but I'm going to have to give it to the A50, for the panel can get way brighter compared to the F1. Now, for battery, the Galaxy A50 has a 4000 mAh battery with 15W fast charging, while the Pocophone F1 also gets a 4000 mAh battery, this time with Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0. Both charge via USB Type-C ports. Thank goodness. In our video loop test, which involves playing a 1080p movie at 50% brightness, 50% volume with earphones and airplane mode turned on, we got 16 hours for the Galaxy A50 and 19 hours for the Pocophone F1. It's also worth mentioning that in day-to-day usage, the Pocophone F1 lasted more than a day. I'm pretty sure it's clear who's the winner here. Heading over to biometrics and security, I'm quite disappointed with the optical in-display fingerprint scanner on the A50. It was pretty much hit or miss for us, but your results may vary. The F1, on the other hand, has a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner that just works. Moving on to software, the Samsung Galaxy A50 comes with Android 9 Pie out of the box, with One UI skinned on top. The Pocophone F1 is upgradable to Android 9 Pie with MIUI 10.2.3 skinned on top. Scrolling through the interface, the A50 looks more minimal with its icons and apps. One UI has now become one of our most favorite interfaces after all. Although the F1 looks organized, and I do like how the icons of apps look like on here too. But like design, software is a big thing that boils down to personal preference. So it's gonna depend on you guys if you like One UI or MIUI more. For hardware, powering the Samsung Galaxy A50 is an Exynos 9610 paired with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage. The Pocophone F1 unit we have has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 together with 6GB of RAM and 64 or 128GB of internal storage. Checking out benchmarks, on Antutu, the Galaxy A50 only scored half of what the Pocophone F1 has, which means that the latter is way faster in overall speed and better in gaming capability. For audio quality, the loudspeaker of the A50 is acceptable, although it has a single bottom firing speaker. However, you have to give it to the Pocophone stereo speakers, giving it a better sound quality overall. Now, let's talk about the cameras. One of the main features of the Galaxy A50 is its triple camera setup that consists of a 25 megapixel shooter with an aperture rating of f1.7 plus an 8 megapixel ultrawide with an aperture rating of f2.2 plus a 5 megapixel sensor for depth. For selfies, the A50 has a 25 megapixel front-facing camera with an aperture rating of f1.7. The Pocophone F1 on the other hand has a dual camera setup consisting of a 12 megapixel main shooter with an aperture rating of f1.9 plus a 5 megapixel camera for sensing depth. In front, you get a 10 megapixel front-facing camera with an aperture rating of f2. For video, the A50 is more capable of handling changes to the light source and shows more dynamic range. It also has optical image stabilization that enables the phone to shoot better videos overall. The F1 on the other hand struggles to adapt to changes in lighting, but you can set it up to shoot with 4K resolution at 30 frames per second, which is a plus thanks to its processor. Let's take a look at some of our sample shots. At first glance, the A50 takes the better photos showing better colors. However, when you zoom into some details like the tree on the right side, you can see that the Pocophone F1 is able to reproduce better details while the A50 tends to highlight the tree's accent. In this photo of a cat, you can see the benefits of the A50's lenses as it's able to focus better on the subject. Although if you start nitpicking on the details, more details on the cat's fur appear on the F1. You can observe the F1 capturing more light in this next image, while the A50 appears to be more warm. Turning our attention to nighttime photos, you can observe that the A50 shows a better shot, but the F1 is better capable of containing the glare from the street light. In a darker scenario, you can see how much light the A50 is able to capture compared to the F1, if you can see the motorcycles in the foreground of the photo. But if you're a fan of more dramatic shots, the F1 might suit your tastes better. Turning our attention to portrait shot, the benefit of the A50's extra lenses shines in this example. You can see there is a better separation of the subject from the background, and has a better level of detail compared to the F1. For regular selfies, the A50 offers way more beauty effects than the F1, although both pictures look acceptable. So I'm quite torn for the cameras since they both have their own strengths and weaknesses. The extra lens on the A50 offers benefits in both night mode and in portrait shot, while the Pocophone makes up for it with a beefier processor. It boils down to your preference on the kind of photos you want to take. Alright, there's just one more big detail left to consider: price. The Samsung Galaxy A50 is priced at 17,990 pesos. For the Pocophone F1, for the 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal storage variant, it's priced at 14,990 pesos. While the 6 gig of RAM plus 128 gigs of internal storage variant is priced at 16,990 pesos. Now considering these, I'm pretty sure pricing will play a big role in your purchasing decision. But in this comparison, the Pocophone F1 is the winner here because of its varying capabilities and flagship performance. But that doesn't mean that the Galaxy A50 should be out of your options. Samsung's One UI might be enough to sway you to its corner. So, what did you guys think? Which one do you prefer? The Samsung Galaxy A50 or the Pocophone F1? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that bell icon so you get notified of our future uploads. Be sure to visit YugaTech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Again, this has been Miguel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!